This is the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, where we have conversations with everyday martial artists about their histories and how martial arts influence their daily lives. You are listening to the abbreviated version of this podcast, which is the first 20 minutes or so of the show. Please consider supporting the show by subscribing on our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/malmag, and for about the price of one coffee shop coffee per month, you can get access to 4 new podcasts each month, 1 week before their YouTube release dates. You also have access to all of our existing shows, which at this point is about 100 hours of shows for you to enjoy. Individual shows can be purchased at our Gumroad page. That is malmag.gumroad.com. This week, I sit down and have a cup of coffee at the Inosanto Academy with a longtime friend and someone I admire very much and have been wanting to get on this show, Professor Nic Saignac. You may know Professor Nic as a Savateur, or a professor of Savate. He is a very interesting person, and we talk about his history in the martial arts and how he got into the profession of being a school teacher as well. Sit back and enjoy. Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, and today I'm sitting in Marina del Rey at the Inosanto Academy with actually one of my favorite people I've met over the years, and been kind of hinting at getting him on here for a while, and finally got some time with him. So my first introduction to Professor Nic here was back when I first came to the Academy, about 20 years ago, and I was studying with a teacher named Justin Williams, and he told me, hey, you've got to go down to Clover Park in Santa Monica. He goes, this guy named Nic's doing this Sunday Savate thing. And I'm like, well, let me go. And so I went, and that's actually where I first met you. And I don't know how to say your name properly, your last name. I want to say it.
Saignac.
Saignac. Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I just want to make sure I got it right. So this is Professor Nic Saignac. And he's a well-known Savate professor. So if you don't know of him, you will over the next couple hours. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Right.
That was my first exposure. Was coming up, and then I recognized you from the videos that you had done with Unique, because I was a big magazine collector and all that, so I knew all that. But yeah, that was fun. That was my first time of doing, I think, Savate as a whole. They mixed it into stuff here, and so I had teachers saying, okay, do a chassé or fouetté. I'm like, okay, but that was the first time kind of getting to move around with people who really did it, and especially with the rules, and I kept shin shielding, and I'm like, no, and you're like, no, and I'm like, yeah, I know, I gotta stop, but it was such a habit, to undo, but it was fun.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Mm-hmm. It was.
And it's funny, I still train people at Clover. We don't do those open, classes like this, but still, close and lots of good memories there.
Yeah, and you had a really good group. That was probably, I want to say, at least like 10 people or so, I think.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah, there was some, there was a time where I was, involved in preparing people for competitions. Mm-hmm. And so, try to get together with, smaller groups, and it was easier to focus on what they needed to work on to prepare them. There was some good people, good competitors, and good people revolving around, like coming from the academy, like Justin, and so it was very, very good, very, very, very good. And I like, because I was, teaching at different places, to have people, mixing and coming. I was telling the people that, we should come train in the academy Tuesday, Thursday morning, and people from the academy, you should come, do. So I had
right
in the park, because I never had a gym, for myself, and living in California.
That's what I say. Yeah, that
the
doesn't
weather
suck.
just makes it so much easier.
On the West End, it's just so.
Yeah.
I think people that aren't from LA don't really understand that the weather can change from, say, the West End, and then if you go into downtown. So we're about probably 10 miles from downtown on the West End. And it'll be significantly hotter downtown, and especially if you go up to the valley, which again is only 15, 20 minutes away. Without traffic, of course. Mileage-wise, it'll only take you 10, 15 minutes to get up there. but it can be 15 degrees hotter.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just noticeable. So we're in the most pleasant part of town as far as weather's concerned.
Definitely.
So, yeah, you can't beat that. Ability to go out and just train outdoors, probably most months out of the year.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this year has been, pretty different in the sense that we had a lot of rain, but no, it's this ability to train, anywhere outside, especially coming from Europe. I mean, that's
Yeah, indeed. Well, speaking of, tell us how you got started in all this martial arts stuff.
Well, when I was a kid, it really was. It didn't come into the picture until I was 12, 13 years old. And every summer I would spend my vacation at my grandparents' in a small city in the southwest of France. And one of my cousin was much older, so he was 18 years old, and he had been doing Shotokan karate for a few years. And he was, I don't know, it just opened my eyes to it and to Bruce Lee, and I spent a month with him at a house, just training every day and doing forms, doing nunchak, doing all this kind of stuff that was really new. And he had a bunch of magazines, and that was fascinating to me because there was no exposure really, outside of karate and judo. I would say were the only two style that I was kind of aware of, and of course, Bruce Lee was his big hero, and so it was in 72, 73.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it. And from this point on, it was always in the back of my mind. And anytime I had a chance to try something, I did. It's 1 year. The following year at school, they had this great program where you could choose what you wanted to do. So the schooling system in France is a little bit different than it is here. We have Monday, Tuesday school. Wednesday there's no school. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning school time. On Thursday afternoon, they started this program. They did it for just 1 year. I don't know how they got the budget, but we would be bussed out to a facility to do either soccer or rugby or basketball or whatever. And there was judo, and I was very interested in judo, and I loved it. So I did that for 1 year. I didn't have the financial means to keep pursuing this, which was the same thing with karate. Like, it was my mom raising me with my three sisters by herself. It's like there was no extra money for.
Right, that doesn't sound like there would be.
Yeah, and I mean, even though the sport, the way it's regulated in France is it's public, so you don't have to pay, but you have to get to the places.
Right,
my mom didn't drive, we didn't have a car. So it was basically impossible for me to do any of this.
And that's pretty common for Europe. Like I don't think Americans, we're such a car-based culture in the States. I don't think we realize that most Europeans don't really own cars.
Yeah, because you live in a place where everything is accessible by either walking or public transportations. So it's we don't realize, and that's also the shock when you come from Europe to one of those fairly new built cities, from where there's so much space.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And which is kind of a problem. I mean, yes, you need a car to move around LA for sure.
Like, I love all the space. Wait, I've got to walk across all this space to get anywhere.
Yeah, but walking doesn't take you anywhere.
Here, definitely not.
You can be walking for miles and miles and still be on the same street and still haven't gotten to the place where you want to get to. So, I mean, you've been walking lately, right?
Oh, yeah. I've been walking like 6 miles a day.
Yeah. So that's a lot. And I think that's pretty common for European people because that's what you do. I mean, you just walk everywhere. But, as a young kid to go, the problem that I found was in smaller city, you don't have the accessibility to training in terms of the scheduling that's available here.
Right.
Like it's always after school, and school doesn't end until 5. And then it gets dark right away in the winter months. I mean, so it's, for a little kid to walk around is at night by themselves is not really
safe.
Yeah. So So yeah, that was it. Those were my first really exposures to martial arts, and then I watched this show on TV that was called L'Abrigade du Tigre, which is like a SWAT team in or special forces
Oh, okay.
team that were looking into pre-World War One.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Period piece. Wow.
So, well, because I mean, if you think about it, that's really when Savate was really popular.
Oh,
and
yeah, turn
it
of the
started.
century,
You
yeah.
know, it's like the late 1800s, and so
I think we have some old pictures. You know, it's funny that you say that. I'm just sitting there. I'm looking at some old pictures of it
yeah?
right here on the wall. I have to have you.
Who is it?
Funny because you said you haven't come up here for a while.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's the.
oh, there's Charlemagne right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's like two of them, and then of course Alain. And,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
so
also
a couple of those, they're paintings or drawings of like old school stuff, and it definitely looks like from that time period.
yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, there's one drawing, and then the other one looks like a pig though.
I hope not.
Yeah, I think Charlemagne the pictures.
Nice.
So, you know, I like this show. It was very. I like the training. I like the fight scenes. There's not that many. It's actually available on YouTube. Like
Oh,
I've
really?
been watching, some of the few one. It definitely, I wouldn't say aged really well,
Well, yeah.
but I found it fascinating. You know, it's just this historical perspective of training in this art and then using this art to for positive actions were something that I really like. And really much later, because I never did judo again, I never did karate again. But when I had the opportunity to train in Savate, I was like, oh yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch it.
Yeah, wow.
And after the first class I took, I was hooked. And I was in 83.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a little while.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because I can remember 83. Yeah, I just started karate myself maybe a couple years earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, that's funny. You know, it's interesting too, like, because here in the States, I think Savate has been around in sort of like hidden in a way, but not. Like there was early on in the comic books, right? You could get these Bruce
Yeah, in the
Tegner
novels.
books,
Yeah,
right?
well, in the comic books, the Bruce Tegner.
So like Bruce
yeah,
Tegner books, and then he had one on Savate. And then there was this toy that I had as a kid called Big Jim. And Big Jim was like a martial art guy. So he had a white gi and a yellow gi, and one of the toy sets like was a school, and he could kick the bricks out of the wall.
Oh.
And on this school it said Big Jim's Karate, Kung Fu, and Savate.
Wow.
But as a kid, I never even heard it said, so I'm like, Karate Savate.
Yeah.
So that's always what I thought it was called, right? And I'm thinking, well, what is Savate exactly? So I had no idea for the longest time that it was a French martial art at all. I just knew, okay, this is something that karate, kung fu, and then this thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, maybe it's just another Asian fighting art, because, we do, I think, especially maybe in the 60s and the 70s in the United States, we always kept thinking of these sort of fighting arts as being an Asian thing. And so it's really interesting to see this thing from France, and it's really kind of cool. And I'm glad that it's been around long enough that it didn't seem too foreign. When someone finally said the name, I'm like, oh, that's how you say it. Oh, it's French. Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, and when I talk about the way the sports is regulated, it was like a free program.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I took the first class with my roommate, and we come out of the gym and we just keep kicking each other and just playing, and couldn't wait for the next class. And that was at a time where I was, out of school, and I don't know, like I really felt like I needed something to grab onto, to give me a support that allowed me to grow as a person, and that did it. I mean, I was working with kids, but during vacation period, like I didn't have a steady job. I wasn't going to college. I was a terrible student. I think because I was not interested or motivated or both. And I started training and really being interested in learning and adding to the class schedule by going running in the morning and doing calisthenics and doing stretching and researching what were the best training methods, and starting to watch fights and kickboxing, whatever was available at the time. It was not very much except for videos, because on TV we had nothing.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that was it. I just stuck with it and just grabbed and just keep on growing and ranked, and I wanted to teach, and then I started teaching within the first couple of years I was training, and had opportunities to have steady classes. So it was a job that, and then from one thing to another, got interested in trying to see if I could test the skills that I learned in the gym and compete. And I think because of the way the competition system is built, that allowed me, as someone who was very introverted and not very aggressive, by nature, to really go, step by step, starting with light contact competition, and then, as we say in France, l'appétit vient en mangeant. So appetite come as you start eating.
Oh, right, okay.
From one thing to another, then, it was the thing that I wanted to do. So I kind of dedicated a few years of my life just seeing how far I could go in terms of training and competing, to, the best of my abilities, and going to train in boxing as well. And that's it. I mean, it's been awesome ever since.
That's great.
I started. I mean, I really, really enjoy the journey. No question.
Now, is it quite a popular sport, like in France in the time that you got started in the 80s? Was it?
So I don't know in terms of when we mention like popularity, it's very often associated with the media representation,
right,
which Savate doesn't have.
Oh, okay.
I mean, at the time I started, there was a couple competition. So in 183 that was called France USA, and one in 87 that was called France Amérique, so Americas, with team from Canada, Mexico, and US. I think this competition in Paris, those were televised. But I happened, the year I started, to see as one of the program in the summer, so it was like a late broadcast from that competition, and it was amazing.
Wow.
It was amazing. One of the guys I was fighting was actually Richard Silla, that came here at the academy. I mean, here. The old academy,
right,
across the street,
right, yeah.
In 1987.
Not far, just a couple football fields away, yeah.
I mean that really, like, I like. What I like at the time is how different it was looking from the image that I had when I first started it. That was really all practice. I mean, from the late 1800s, early 1900s. And the fact that boxing was included, and it was really getting better and better, and very, very quickly with this guy Richard Silla, there was like a great evolution in terms of blending style and training with other style, and taking not just the kicking techniques from Savate and boxing, of course. I mean, boxing is from English boxing, but like really finding ways to make it work together with the kicking better, and using other, like efficiency principles from Thai boxing. And because this guy was training in Holland with Jan Vos at the time, at the So you would go from Paris to Amsterdam, which by train is
Yeah.
easy, or you can drive and
Right.
it takes 6 hours, and then then you back the next day. That's
Yes,
it. Or you
that's
can
going
do
from
it
here
one
to San
day.
Francisco. Yeah, that's pretty
yeah.
crazy.
And I just liked how it has changed and evolved. But popular, I wouldn't say it's popular. I think what they do a very, very good job at is like really sitting in terms of like starting kids through school programs and like really, really strong kids program. And colleges and university. I mean, it's popular because I think the federation has done a good job, like offering like
So
a
they're putting it as
wide
like
variety
physical
of
education
places.
into the schools.
Yeah, or after school program. I mean, they really work with the schools. So that's really good. So what it means is that there's like a strong practitioner base and a strong competition system as well. The problem with the competition, it's it's getting better. It's been getting better for the past 20 years, but it's still not enough to, I think, showcase someone that people can identify to.
Right.
Like someone who is going to have a strong mediatic image that
Right.
the federation can use and carry. I think it was a choice that I don't necessarily agree with. I think the way the competition is set up is really, really good. A lot of great fighters in kickboxing, styles have gained a lot from starting with Savate. But it's still amateur, which means that they can not make money until, I think, like 15 years ago, they started this. Hey, girl. This pro version of Savate allowing, shin kicks, but still wearing shoes. But it really, it's difficult to see it on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, for example, like if you look for Savate, now on YouTube, you can find
sure.
some stuff. You can find some old stuff. You can find some stuff that's a little bit more recent. But I'm not sure that they have like names big enough that can carry and really offer, the public the possibility to want to follow someone. Specifically.
Right.
Like Richard Silla was one of those guys, in the late 80s, but he's not there anymore, and there really hasn't been anyone that the federation has been like kind of pushing. So I feel like he was the one who got Savate out of this. Savate is just for the kickers, and it's just this. No, he was from there he was able to make the transition to English boxing, and he was part of the amateur team, and he was fighting in kickboxing.
And this concludes the abbreviated version of the podcast. Please consider supporting the program by going to www.patreon.com/malmag and subscribing to the show. You can also purchase this individual episode or any individual episode at our Gumroad page. That's malmag.gumroad.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode with Professor Nic Saignac. Coming up next week, I connect to the United Kingdom again, and I talk to a very interesting Irishman about his very fascinating story. Aidan Cochran.
Our Malmag online store at martialartslifestylemagazine.com has a full selection of Timmy B's brand sticks for FMA and Krabiker Bong. Timmy B's brand now selling in Japan as well. Beautiful Timmy B's brand shirts and Dos Manos shirts are available with new t-shirt designs and more products coming soon. An online course in the Dos Manos method for FMA is available under the Courses tab. More courses coming soon. Check out the Places to Train tab to find schools near you, and click on the events calendar page to see what seminars and events are happening all around the world. And of course, visit our main page for articles on the martial arts. Music by Jack L. Relic. Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine and the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast are trademarked and copyrighted by TNT LLC.